Shall we begin?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the D1 DLC podcast. Sorry, we got distracted a little bit. What were we talking about? VR beast machines and your new machine.
My new
machine builds.
Yeah.
I know very little about building computers, but all of my mates do, so I'm just like, here's my budget, give me something good.
Seriously, right now, Jake's sitting there sweating, going like, I'll do it for you, man. I'll do it. Can I say,
You have to fight off the
the worst
10
part-
other people who said they'd do it for me.
Building a computer is that you look at every component and every component. Another $50, and I just get that little one there.
I mean, why not? It can't be that much.
And then you're $1,000 over budget, and you don't even know it.
I've got to tell you, I am the worst PC. I'm a guy that likes PC games, but I am a peasant. Like, I'm not a PC dude.
pleb.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. I am a pleb. But so the other day, Jake helped me out. I got a new case. I've needed a new case for a while.
Yep.
So he came around and moved all the gear over. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you know someone and you've known someone for a while.
Yep.
And they're a normal person.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they switch into, I'm an absolute professional, I know exactly what the fuck I'm doing. Watch me work. Because that's what it was like. He was just, I'm like, who are you? You're the dude that I get drunk with at the pub, mate. Like,
Yep.
And it's like, I felt like the only thing I was disappointed by, like he's got this case with all his PC parts, like tools. The only thing I was disappointed was that he didn't put a belt on. Like
He didn't have a utility belt.
No. But if he did, he
bright
would have
yellow
been.
utility belt.
He would have been the Batman
down.
of PCs. I'll tell you what. He's an expert on this shit. Like,
Is like, you know, the pressure cleaner stuff you use to clean bits of PC bit? That'd be the
Like that-
anti-shark repellent or whatever.
anti-shark.
From like Adam West Batman?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, no, yeah. Bat
Yeah.
shark
There you go.
repellent, yeah.
Bat shark repellent.
Yeah, it's me. You just don't know enough about Batman. I'm disappointed.
Or PCs, to be fair. This is why I know Jake.
Have you seen the latest Lego Batman movie? The shark repellent made a comeback
Oh, yeah.
into
I
that movie.
watched that on a plane, and I sat there and was like, this is the movie I never knew I needed, but it's what I always wanted. Like,
Can we talk about movies for one sec?
Yeah, sure.
I saw Moana
Moana.
on the weekend. I was a bit hungover. So I've got like, what am I going to do? Like, it's like 9:30, I'm laying on the couch, I hate my life, this is the worst ever. So I'm flicking through,
Yep.
and like, Moana, I keep wanting to call it Maui, because Maui's the demigod in it. Anyway, so I watched that, and I reckon in the space of an hour, I went from, I hate my life, to like, you're welcome. Which, if Jake and Jordo are listening or watching, they will appreciate the fact that we recorded the next day some other YouTube stuff, and I must have played it about 20 times on my phone, that song.
Nice.
I love it so much. It is so good.
Yep. No, it's a brilliant movie. I took the kids to see it as soon as it came out because I was like super keen. Big fan of Polynesia in Civ 5. And I'm waiting for them to release it as DLC for Civ 6. I can't believe they haven't like ridden the coattails of Moana and done that already.
Yeah, you would have thought, wouldn't you?
Oh.
I think that movie, and this is, everyone always hates my opinions on literally everything, but I think I had a bit of trouble with pacing and character development, but that's just on my part as someone who is an insanely huge Disney fan. To the point where I went to Disneyland and cried for 90% of the day.
So last year Disney released 2 movies, which they don't usually do. Are you a more Zootopia fan then?
I do love Zootopia. I think
It's not
that was
a
a
bad
really
movie,
good movie.
It's all right.
No, it's
But then again, my favorite Disney movie is Bambi. So take that
is what?
Bambi.
that's
So take that as you will.
sad.
What do you think about them going through and doing all the live action stuff? Remaking their movies in live action. Like, there's going to be a live action Lion King. I'm
not happy about it.
I don't even understand how that works.
I heard rumours they were doing a live action.
They're doing live action of
Mulan
everything. Everything.
That's going to be a kung fu movie, and I'm like, yeah, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, no, that one I'm down with that.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. But how do you do a live action lion? Like, are they going to get the lions? Or
Have you seen Jungle Book?
Yeah, that's
No.
crazy good. But there's no people in.
I have an issue with, as someone who is a huge movie buff, but I'm like an old school movie buff, I do not like remakes or the amount of anger I had when they said they were bringing out a new Blade Runner with Harrison Ford, because it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's not a remake, though.
That's a sequel.
It's not a remake, but it still ruins the entire. I get so angry about this. The whole point of the end of the Blade Runner movie is that you do not know whether Deckard is a replicant or not. And by having him in that movie came out. 1982 was when Blade Runner came out.
Can we fact check that?
You can fact check that. It is right.
Oh, we don't even need to check. We're like, no,
I can tell you now.
Yeah.
And that was a huge, everything in that movie. I wrote a thesis on that movie, and it is dripping. Every single camera shot is dripping in symbolism.
Yeah.
And
amazing movie.
One, I don't think they'll remake it with that much symbolism, and two, it then ruins the end of the movie, being Harrison Ford's in it. He must be a human, not a replicant. What happened to Rachel?
The sequel has Ryan Gosling in it though, so probably be alright.
Pretty boys don't make a movie.
It's got now I've gone a mental blank.
While you do that, as someone who and I am a little bit reluctant to admit this, hasn't seen the original Blade Runner.
What?
I haven't seen it.
Can I kick you off of the podcast?
I was just talking about this the other day with the other boys.
It is in my top 3 favorite movies.
It's in my top 2.
See, my top 3 aren't actually in order. It's just 3 movies I love because it's real hard to do. Actually.
What are your other top 2s then?
Clerks. Clerks. Kevin
call.
Smith.
Good
1994. And also, I'm gonna throw Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, 2010.
Interesting.
Despite the fact I think Edgar Wright is a fantastic director,
See,
as well as
incredible.
the graphic novels, because I have the special edition of the graphic novels of that are really different. But I think to compile 5 books, 6 books into that movie, it is really well done, and Michael Cera hit the tone of that movie really well.
You might need to come back next podcast, because we've got a very old friend of the show, Seamus Mullins, is coming on next time, and his favourite thing in the entire world is Scott Pilgrim. He is mad on Scott Pilgrim.
I can quote that movie from start to finish.
It is incredible. I do like Ramona. Ramona Flowers.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yes. Fargo season 3. She's very good. She's very good in everything.
The other 2 movies that would probably make my top 3, I would have to say Fight Club.
Oh yeah.
And Terminator 2.
Terminator 2 is the best of them. Hell yeah.
Terminator 2 is, in my opinion, the perfect movie. In and of itself, not excluding everything else that is in the Terminator franchise, because there's some shit in there as well.
Well, they ruined that just like they ruined Matrix and Alien. Alien's one of my top 5s, and it's
and that's a fair call there. But Terminator 2 is...
Do you know they still make movies now? Like there's new movies that are coming out?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just checking. I just wanted to...
A while ago I sat down, I looked at all of the releases from the past maybe 5 years, and I have seen a very, very minimal amount of those movies.
Yeah, pretty much. I've only watched Marvel movies for life.
It's Marvel, Star Wars, and DC, even though DC is driving itself into the ground.
Where's Goodfellas?
I'm just going to stare at you for a second.
I was like, how do you not have Goodfellas on any of those?
Well, you haven't seen
The
Blade
Shawshank
Runner.
Redemption.
Well,
do you want to be a little bit more quintessential? Like a little bit more stereotypical? It's really fun being cliche, isn't it?
Do you understand the reason that things are popular? Because most people like them, so that's why.
Well, clearly.
No.
Do I look like I'm
Blade
popular?
Runner, which no one likes. Oh my god, you're so edgy.
No, Blade Runner's amazing. Shawshank is amazing, but they're completely different.
It's funny, as you were talking about, particularly Terminator 2, I straight away thought about, what about Die Hard? Not because
Die Hard is fantastic.
Not because necessarily one's better than the other, but I feel like that's a comparable category.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas I wouldn't put Shawshank against Terminator. How do you compare those?
Yeah.
How do you
so
Die
Hard 1 and 3 are good, and then you don't bother watching any others?
Die Hard is one of my Christmas movies.
Technically
a Christmas movie.
No, it is the best Christmas movie
along
of
with
all time.
Gremlins. And
which is also very good.
Home Alone?
Good one.
No, Batman Returns
Yeah.
with the Penguin.
Oh, yeah.
Now see,
Still,
I
also
watch.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
I was going to say that Catwoman.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
The best.
I watch Home Alone every year with the kids.
Do you?
Because it's.
Are you looking forward to them being grown up enough that you can watch Die Hard instead? Are you
There's
is
definitely
that's the
there.
dream?
So we've moved so far off of video games now.
Oh,
Don't worry.
Is
Because
that
people
how this
hate
works?
movies. They're not cool at all.
People generally hate my opinions on movies. Other than people hate my opinions on video games as well, but we won't get into that.
There's a
And
Scott
it's
Pilgrim
fantastic.
video game.
Yeah, side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Oh, really? And it is
Yeah,
actually
it
good?
came out on Xbox. Yeah, it's pretty good. I quite enjoy beat 'em ups and fighting games. So
Yeah.
it's really
Like
well
Double
done.
Dragon side scrolling, sort of.
Yeah, but also there's this weird indie game called Phantom Breaker, which is just waifus everywhere because I play anything with good waifus. Which is
with good what?
waifus.
Ah, right.
Which is like side-scrolling, beat 'em up, pixel art. It's really, really fun. A lot of that stuff.
Speaking of indies, we managed to hook you on Hollow Knight.
Yes. I
Ben,
just finished it.
what do you think of Hollow Knight?
I played it for the first time at
Did,
AvCon.
you did play it at AvCon. Have we
Yeah.
spoken about that? I didn't know you actually played it.
I sat down, had a bit of a play, and you know how when someone overhypes something so much and you're expecting so much more than what it actually delivers, you're very guilty of that, Brad.
Not at all. Still game of the year. Still game of the year.
Question. So, have you played through like Super Metroid or Castlevania Symphony of the Night or even Mega Man X? So I think Mega Man X is kind of a bit different, but...
Not Castlevania, yes to the other two, but not for some time.
Well, like Hollow Knight, I'm a huge Metroidvania fan. Two of my favorite games of all time are Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And Hollow Knight, not many games come out now that are Metroidvanias that are as polished and well put together as that game is. And it gave me my fix of Metroidvania. I think I've clocked 50-something hours on it now.
Nice.
To almost...
That's decent value for $15, isn't that? Well,
Yeah.
you've done it right.
It's a fucking fantastic game. Like the map system, even the controls are so insanely tight. And it's really, really well made. It's because Brad hyped it up to me as well, and I got it, and I so appreciate this.
We were standing there talking, and I reckon right in front of us was Hollow Knight, XO1, and Icebox. And any regular listener or watcher knows we're all about these South Australian games. And I think it was either you or your friend was saying that I was like a dealer for these games. I'm like trying to push them on people. Did you played Icebox?
Yeah, I did.
You played Icebox, Ben?
I didn't play.
You didn't play Icebox?
No.
You haven't played it at all?
No.
No?
I can see myself getting very, very... As someone who loves speedrunning, I would get so hooked on that game, and I know I would tear my hair out because of it.
Fair enough.
Hands down.
For me, the standouts at AvCon were more about, especially in the indie games room. My brain's gone blank now, but the new Tex Murphy game looked really good.
Yep, Jake loves that. He's a mad Tex Murphy fan. I've never played one, so I don't really know about it. But yeah, Jake. Did you play it in the VR?
I'm sort of hesitant with VR.
Yeah, Jake didn't mind it.
Yeah?
Yeah, he didn't mind it. I didn't think it would work in that kind of game, but yeah. Hey, so to segue a little bit, because horribly we got off the subject of Monique for a little while, so let's go back onto that
so much
subject.
attention, please.
So we saw you at AvCon, and you were with a friend who was she was displaying one of the TAFE games there, A Right to Bear Arms.
Yep.
Okay.
The bear was like a bear because you were like a little
Lots of
fluffy
really great puns.
Yeah, it was pretty
Sounds
cool.
like my kind of game.
It's good.
And so you're obviously mad on games, all right? So your friend is making games. Do you ever think to yourself, shit, maybe I should do that? Maybe I should make one of these kick-ass Symphony of the Night, Hollow Knights, Shovel Knight, something with a knight. Do you want to make a knight game? No, you're
At
happy
night.
just to consume them?
I sit there as someone who is, I guess, hypercritical of games, and I know what I like. That does not make me in any way qualified to make a game. And I am very, very aware of that.
Yeah, but
and
I mean,
also do not have the patience to create something like that, because knowing is, because two of my friends actually worked on that. The other friend who worked on that was in Sydney because she was invited to be at the Overwatch tournament that was over there, because she's a cosplayer.
Yep. We have to talk to Mully about that next fortnight as well, because he worked on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got to talk to Mully about Overwatch.
But they have a lot more, like one of them does cosplay. It's a lot of modeling and learning how structures work. And I just honestly, as someone with ADD, do not have the attention span to sit and model for 10 hours on one thing. It's not happening. 100%. And again, I can be hypercritical of games, but I in no way think of myself as qualified to make a game.
To be fair, though, I rarely have the attention span to sit at my desk at work for 8 hours, so, I mean, there's...
But then, if it was Civilization at your desk, then...
Oh, no, I can do that for 8 hours.
Yeah, like
and
16
hours.
The thing is, I think that's why I love video games so much, and why I'm also very nostalgic for it, is that as someone who has gone through... I like say like jack of all trades, like tried a lot of different stuff. Video games is legitimately one of the only things which I can sit down and, I mean, a lot of the games on this list, I have sat down and played for, 13, 14 hours at a time. Or, like, for example, I have Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on here. As a kid, I used to keep Band-Aids next to my Nintendo 64 because I would get blisters and tear off my
Do you remember you used to get the thumbstick thing? Like...
I never got it on 64, but I definitely got it on the original Nintendo. The gamepad for that was...
The original NES with the hard corners that would dig into your...
Yeah,
I played a lot of... Yeah. I used to get, when I played a lot of WoW, I had a bad wrist for a while. Got a bit of RSI going on in the wrist. From WoW, to be clear.
Wow.
It's WoW.
No other things. Well, yeah. I was playing WoW. You think anything else is going on? What the hell?
He doesn't have time for anything else.
No, exactly. I got to grind, mate. Got to grind. But yeah, I reckon it's been a while since I've sat down all day to play a game.
I do that often.
I did it this
like
weekend.
At least 3 weeks, I reckon.
My partner's away for a couple of weeks overseas at the moment.
Yeah.
And so this weekend,
You are just your jocks eating chicken, playing video games, aren't you?
No, it's Doritos and Mountain Dew.
Pretty much. But it was 2-minute noodles and video games. So.
That's right. I actually do sit and I have learned how to play video games and eat Doritos and drink Pepsi Max at the same time, because I clearly am actually.
I said, switch out the Pepsi Max for like Mountain Dew and your Diva.
Yeah.
So
I am so ready. Give me a neckbeard now and a fedora, we'll be fine. No, but that's what I do with my free time, is I play video games, and my sleeping pattern's backwards anyway because I work night shifts. So there's nothing to do at 5 a.m. except to be like, hey, you know what? How quickly can I go through Zelda 1?
Yeah.
So what is with this love you've got for old games and games you've played before? What does it take for a game to, I guess, even for you to spend the money on it, like a new game that's not an established franchise, you've never, something like Hollow Knight, or is it someone has, like bashed you into playing it, or are you reading reviews, are you watching a streamer? How are you finding new games when you're so content to play old games over and over?
I watch a ridiculous amount of YouTube. Ridiculous. Okay. And it is, hours and hours of content today. I watch things while I play video games. I never play video games with the sound on. Mm-hmm. And even though I may not have played...
Is that all video games? Because I did that for a long time. I didn't have sound on video games. But now... games, particularly Hollow Knight, Ori and the Blind Forest, not just the sounds, but the soundtracks as well. I feel like...
Bastion.
I think one of the only...
anything by Supergiant, oh my god.
One of the only games I kept a soundtrack on was Shovel Knight. Vert is a fucking incredible... and maybe like Castle Crashers and stuff like that, because Water Flame is also really, really good.
Yeah.
But generally, unless I'm playing something which needs sound, like with Hollow Knight... especially, I generally have on my laptop, I have YouTube, and then have my computer with...
You need a second screen.
I do. But it also
and then
means
can I tell you the first thing that happens when you get a second screen? you go, I need a third screen.
But it
Two
means
screens is not enough.
I don't have clashing of those sounds. I can turn Hollow Knight down really low and still have like my headphones on and still kind of hear, especially when like the map guy is kind of singing a little bit and stuff like that. I can
little grub dudes.
Yeah, I can hear it enough to know that things are close by, but also not loud enough to interrupt with whatever I'm listening to.
So off the recording, when we got distracted, you were talking about. We were talking a little bit about PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. And the sounds where you shite yourself?
I'm so twitchy. I am so twitchy, and I play with big noise-cancelling headphones as well.
Yeah.
And I go through so much of a game without actually seeing anyone that when I finally do, I'm like jumping out of my computer because I'm like, oh no, sounds fine. And then suddenly I actually hear gunshots. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
SOS, guys. Someone help.
Me and Brad had a few rounds of the new first person
shooter. Yeah.
I've seen stuff.
A lot of fun. I think I prefer over the shoulder, but
I definitely
I can take it either way. To be fair, like it doesn't really change the core mechanics of the game.
I think if you were to do first person in game until you get into a vehicle and then switch to third person. And then switch back to first person.
That is horrifically bad, isn't it? The first one, even if they took you out, but they wouldn't let you turn the camera behind you or something. That's fine.
That's fine. But it's having first person in the vehicle is
horrible.
Is not good.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the reason I even got PUBG. I has to backtrack a little bit. Like, the reason I buy games is because I watch such a ridiculous amount of content that I am still pretty up to date on everything that comes out.
Yeah.
Like I haven't played Destiny, but I can still tell you a lot about Destiny.
Yeah.
I haven't played Dark Souls 3 yet, but I could still tell you most of the bosses in Dark Souls 3 because I've seen that many playthroughs. Like, I am on top of new games and what I can consume, just not necessarily what I can play at the moment.
My brother did that. He reckons one of his favourite games is The Last of Us. He's never played it.
Oh, such a good
game. He just watched, I think he said it was literally in one day. A streamer started it, played it all the way through, and he watched the whole thing. Absolutely loves it. No interest in playing it.
I've never finished Bloodborne, but I've seen maybe 8 playthroughs of Bloodborne from various Let's Players, which I watch. And I can sit there and already tell that I've only played maybe up to the 4th boss, and I can sit there and say I highly enjoy Bloodborne.
Yeah.
I think it's a fucking brilliant game, and I
As
haven't finished it.
As opposed to Uncharted.
How would you
describe Uncharted?
I so dislike Uncharted.
Yeah, why though? Why? How would you describe it if you were to describe it? What would you call it?
Because it's a visual novel movie interjected with mediocre gameplay. If I want to
mediocre gameplay.
You can come back anytime you want.
I can sit there and you know what? If I want to watch a fucking movie, and this is highly unpopular opinion, I don't really give a fuck about.
At least 2 out of the 3 people here have that opinion.
I'm not just saying about Uncharted, but I genuinely do not give a fuck about story in games.
See, now you went too far.
I don't.
See,
I genuinely don't.
I want you to. Can you say it and leave it and let Brad have his moment? No, now you have to fuck it up.
I don't really care about story generally in games unless it's told really well through gameplay. I really don't care. And so if I want to watch a fucking movie, I'll watch a fucking movie. If I'm playing a game, I want to be playing a game. I don't want it to be interjected randomly with other things which I'm not concerned about. I want to be in control of my character doing something at every moment that I'm doing that because you're taking away my agency otherwise.
I think there is definitely something
beautifully said just quietly. That was
for games. I predominantly will play games for the story, and we've talked about this previously, but it's different for games that are multiplayer games because for me the story is just the talking shit with my mates.
Yeah.
And
no, I agree with that 100%. A multiplayer game, you don't need story in that.
No.
You are the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that being said, so talking about having that control over character, I think this is why for me, I've always been such a huge fan of BioWare games because a BioWare game, so much of the story is told by your companions bantering, bickering, talking while you're doing things.
Yeah.
And so that's the same thing. You are actually playing the game, and while you're doing that, you're hearing the story through other characters, which is fantastic, as opposed to taking you out of that game and making. And the worst for me, the reason I've always had a problem with Uncharted is it's not so much that the story takes you out of the game. It's that the gameplay takes you out of the story.
Takes you out of the story.
Okay.
Yeah,
like, it's a really
if you want to watch
interesting
a movie, you just want to watch a fucking movie.
Absolutely. And I will watch the shit out of an Uncharted movie.
There's something coming out. There's a prequel.
Yep.
Like,
Tom Holland.
But the thing is,
Really?
I'm going to
You know
sit
that
there.
so have you seen Spider-Man?
Yes.
You've seen Spider-Man? All right. So if you're not my first, I thought lots of things watching Spider-Man, but one of them was, if I was like a 16-year-old boy at high school and I watched that movie, I would understand that I am never getting laid until like mid-20s. Because unless you look like Tom Holland. Because every girl is going to be like, well, this is the new standard. All right, this is what boys are like. And then you're like a bit pudgy, play video games.
Maybe I took something different away from it because I wasn't. I was looking at Aunt May the whole time.
Oh, to be fair, yeah, Aunt May, she'll play.
It's a bit disturbing actually how young Aunt May's become. Maybe it's just that I'm older now.
I feel like that's part of it. I reckon a
I'm older
17-year-old's probably not looking at Aunt May the same way you and me are.
But yeah.
I do want to, because I know like Beck's a big fan of Robert Downey Jr.
The first Tobey Maguire movie, I'm pretty sure Aunt May was like...
That's not my Aunt May.
So old.
Yeah.
And so was Uncle Ben. Yeah.
Yeah, so who was Aunt May in that one? I can't even remember Aunt May in...
She was old.
But she was younger though, wasn't she?
I think
reckon
she
it's
already
like...
had grey hair. I
In
think
the
she
Tom
would've
Holland
already
one,
had grey
she's
hair in the first Tobey Maguire.
she's definitely not old.
No.
Well...
Not Marissa Tomei. Like, Marissa... Look, Marissa, if you're watching, reach out. Come on the show.
I'm sure that's happening.
Yeah.
100%.
Hey, I heard she's a big
Can
fan.
I backtrack slightly?
Yes, please.
Go
do.
for it.
Please. Talking about story, as I said before, my favorite game of all time is Super Metroid.
Yep.
And part of the reason I love that game so much is, one, there's zero tutorial, which makes me so happy.
Yes.
That game just teaches you how to play with.
Yep.
But
I just read an
it's-
article on that, actually. Sorry. Really good article on teaching people without telling them. It was really good.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about the
Which is
teaching
exactly
through
what you're-
gameplay,
yeah.
which I can give you very specific examples from Super Metroid about that as well,
Yep.
just how absolutely masterful that game is. But also, it gives you all of the story for that entire game at the start. You start up the game and it gives you a couple of screens of like why Samus is on Zebes and that Mother Brains come back and Space Pirates have, and then you're there. There is literally no NPCs. There's no dialogue. There's zero dialogue in that game whatsoever. Yet it still tells a story, and you're still able to feel that intense amount of isolation and fear from that game. And I Dark Souls and Bloodborne do the same sort of thing, where so much of their story is done environmentally. It's from context. And I appreciate games so hard that can do that. I don't want a story shoved in my face. Yeah. If I can't skip cutscenes, I will stop playing a game because I don't care.
That is the biggest sin. Like, if
I don't
understand
care.
if you want to tell a great story, that's fine. But you need to give me the option to go, I don't care, and to skip it.
And
If
there's
I can't press X,
so many games I stopped playing.
I'm not a
because I
big
hate
fan
it.
of cutscenes, but I do like a narrative. And there
So
is
do
a
I.
way
That's my
to tell
preference.
a narrative
Yep.
within the game itself that doesn't take you out of the game.
Yeah. So I think, Monique, you're certainly further away than where I am. Story is important to me. I like a good story to be told, but I do like it to be told in game. I don't like the environmental stuff. So probably a good example, modern example of that is Overwatch. That tells a really good story in the environments because there's nowhere else. You know, there is no narrative in Overwatch.
Oh, you've got the YouTube clips of the backstories.
Which is good too. But I understand people appreciate that. That for me is too much. I like to have a story. I like to have a reason to do something. But I'm not as far as Uncharted, where it really completely breaks you out of the game to be able to do that. I feel there's a better way to do that. And I, as I said before, I feel like BioWare have done it the way I enjoy it the most.
I think
maybe not the best, but the way I enjoy it the
if you
most.
cut it back to some of the most successful games, things like that have stood the test of time at least, like Mario and Zelda and basic Nintendo stuff. Again, I'm a Nintendo fangirl, I understand that. But
Portal 2 was pretty good.
we're not going to start on this again.
I'd like to.
I walked in with a Portal bag. You can't be
That's
mad
not
at me.
bad. That's not bad. That's you got going.
But those games barely have any story, and you can argue things about Breath of the Wild, but you can skip every cutscene in Breath of the Wild if you want. Essentially, you get your objective at the start of the game, which is destroy Ganon, but generally, pretty much all Zeldas are save the princess. That's not a very interesting storyline. Same with Mario. It's save the princess. That's not a very interesting storyline, but it's the game mechanics and how you feel when you play that game that makes them such incredible games, which is why there are very few games which I can say story has had an impact on me. Undertale's on here. Undertale is one of the few games where story really mattered to me. There's a really indie game. I think it got released on Steam last year. I played it a few years ago, called One Shot. That game had a really very, very short game, made in RPG Maker, had a really big impact on me. Because it gives you agency and you have a choice in what you do, and that really stuck with me. But
have you been into the BioWare games at all? Are they not your bag, or have you tried them? Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Baldur's Gate,
Baldur's Gate, yes.
Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate, yes.
I would be remiss not to say Planetscape Torment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I played Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2. I played through Mass Effect. I think they give you the illusion of agency without actually giving you agency.
But still the best game ever, right?
No.
Anyway, thank you for joining us, folks. Now, you know what? I am actually going to end it there because the beers are empty. We need to move on with our lives, although we could do a beer part 3. No, we're not going to. Maybe we might have to. Look, if you want Monique to come back, you might need to let us know. But
I have a lot of opinions. I'm ready for everyone to be angry at me about them.
As opposed to me, I don't have...
No, Brad has no opinions.
We didn't even get into speedrunning.
I know,
right? So many things left to talk about.
Time passes so quickly. As soon as you start talking, you're like, every fortnight, I'm like, what are we going to talk about this? And then
it just happens.
It just happens.
I haven't even mentioned Eve yet.
We did talk about that a little bit.
Next podcast.
A little bit off camera. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but I did install it the other night.
Hey! Yes.
Look, that's not the same as playing it though. I'm just patching it.
Yeah, no.
Definitely, 100%.
That's fine. That's totally safe.
We've been at Harry's Bar. I believe it's Harry's Bar.
Harry's on Grenfell.
That's
Grenfell.
Harry's on Grenfell.com.au.
Absolutely. So they've got the 3 bars. It is fantastic up here. We're here every second Tuesday. So today being the 12th, that means we would be here on the 26th, which I believe will be just after the preliminary finals, if you're into footy.
No.
And other events if you're not.
Does it look like I like sport? Seriously?
Yeah, so please feel free to come and hang out and talk about video games with us. Otherwise, check us out. If you're on YouTube, thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're listening to us on the podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes and Pocket Cast and all those good spots. Do we have anything else to say?
See you later, folks.
Bye.
Yeah.
What can I say except you're welcome for the tides, the sun, the sky. Hey, it's okay, you're welcome. I'm just an ordinary...